I've been an entrepreneur for over 7 years, and here are my biggest lessons that I've learned. We're gonna be breaking them down into 5 lessons, man. I love being an entrepreneur, and most importantly, I love being able to control my own destiny. Because if you guys have a job, it's totally fine, but at the same time, you guys should realize that a job is only a stepping stone to your future goals, right? You always wanna be able to have your own business because that way you can be able to control your destiny. So I'm gonna give you guys no filter actual lessons that I've learned as far as being an entrepreneur. Now, I'm definitely not where I want to be at, but we're gonna get to these billions real soon, and people will talk about it, but you know what I'm saying, you gotta be about it. So that's all it is. Let's get into this video, man. So right now you're probably like, why am I even listening to him, right? So I wanted to backtrack, right? Let's go ahead and talk about how I got into entrepreneurship and why I feel like it was a path for me. So I actually was an entrepreneur ever since I went to college, right? So I was in college about 18 years old. So shout out to all the Temple Owls out there, man. Big shout out to Philly. I love Philly. So when I went to college, right, I wanted to be able to go somewhere where I was far enough away from my parents. Now, you might think that sounds a little bit weird, but honestly, the reason I wanted to do that is because I realized that at an early age, if I can't take care of myself, if I can't be self-sufficient and rely on myself, then I can't expect my parents to do so. So I wanted to really just, you know what I'm saying, kind of step out into the world and be a man of my own. So when I was 18 years old, I went to school and actually was, I studied pre-med actually, but anyways though, so I studied pre-med. It was pretty fun. And honestly, like what I realized though is that like I literally looked at everything and I was like, bro, like people are going out at 3 in the morning, like, and they're just spending all this money, like, and their grades are like terrible. But I always knew that I was like, man, if I wanted to stay in college, bro, like one, I'm not gonna be no broke college student. Like I can't do that, like honestly. So what I realized was I had to be able to find a hustle real quick. So my first semester there, I was in the dorms, man. And so I'm a person that naturally likes clothes. So actually what I first did, right, was go ahead and actually sell my items. So I sold like a Supreme North Face actual collab. It was like a sweatshirt. And so I sold that. And then I was like, bro, you can actually like make some money out of this. So I just started to flip. And then basically like Supreme, which if anybody really knows. So Supreme back in the day, like it's around like 2017, 2018, they were like dumb hype. Like everybody was like really liking Supreme. And they actually had some resale value. Nowadays, Supreme is like trash. It's pretty like garbage unless they get like a really good collab, like an NBA Youngboy collab or something like that. But for the most part, honestly, Supreme's like pretty trash now. But what happened was that, yeah, like so New York was like really close to Philadelphia, and I'll literally just be taking trips back and forth, started to really get a connection and get a lot of networks out there. And so that way I was able to start reselling clothes, and I was able to make over 6 figures just doing that basically throughout my college career. It was a pretty fun investment opportunity, and just being able to like hustle and also be able to like really get everything that I wanted being a college student, right, was that, man, like it was really fun at the end of the day. So I realized that it was something that I really took a part of. And the crazy part is I was still in school, right? Because I didn't want to just drop out. And honestly, like I should have dropped out, but I didn't want to drop out because of the fact that my parents are immigrants, you know, I had to go ahead and get that degree. So it was really just from my parents basically. But so I was definitely people pleasing, but basically that's really what started me off in entrepreneurship, right? I graduated college, I got into credit, and I started doing credit repair. I started buying trucks. I started getting into different businesses such as consulting, all these different businesses. Now, I'm not saying I was successful in all of them, but I learned a lot. So here's the lessons that I really learned as far as being able to go ahead and actually be a better business owner. Rule number 1, business development. All business development is personal development. You'll have all these gurus tell you guys that, oh, you guys should learn this business strategy or learn this business strategy. Oh, bro, like it does not matter whatsoever what strategy you learn. I mean, if you don't have the development behind that strategy, then it really doesn't even matter. If you're not a person that's reliable, on time, do what you're gonna say, and just a person of value, bro, then honestly, bro, like you're never gonna be good at business because all businesses is trust. People wanna be able to trust that you can be able to handle your job. They don't care about what's going on at your family house. They don't care about what's going on as far as with your kids. They really don't care about any of that. They wanna know that if they paid you for a service, it's gonna get done. They don't care about excuses. It's really one of the biggest lessons I've learned being an entrepreneur because, I mean, bro, you'll literally go ahead and just see all these different YouTube videos, and all anybody's really talking about is just becoming learning this strategy or this hack or that hack. Bro, none of that matters. All it is just personal development, bro. I'm not worried about how to be able to just attain $1 million in revenue. I'm more worried about becoming a person that can attain $1 million. And quite frankly, I know what I'm gonna be able to achieve. So you have to really realize that business development is just personal development. And the reason that personal development really matters a lot is because you have to realize that if you want to be able to build a sustainable business, you're gonna need to be able to have people that can be able to have recurring customers. So if you have recurring customers, people that are constantly buying from you, then you can be able to actually build out a sustainable business. But if you're not necessarily a good human being, or just, I wouldn't even say somebody of value, I would say somebody of honor in a sense, somebody that actually has morals and honors, then basically you're not gonna be able to build anything at all. And so that's one of the things is like, who cares about the strategies? Don't worry about the strategies. Worry about your personal development. Worry about being more on time. Worry about being more accountable. Worry about making less excuses. Like, that's what you need to be worrying about instead of what hack or what strategy I'm gonna be using next. So business development, all it is personal development. Now, a second business lesson that I've learned is to weigh out the pros and cons of a business before you jump into it, right? So I got caught up in this when I joined the trucking industry because basically what happened was I was listening to all the noise, right? I was basically, yeah, go ahead and actually get a trucking company, go ahead and make $50,000, go ahead and become a millionaire of the trucking industry. And so I fed into that noise. But what happened was I didn't actually weigh out the pros and cons of being in that business. Because as soon as I graduated college, I went ahead and bought a semi truck. Now, I didn't have a CDL. I didn't know anything about the business. I just had a friend that was a broker basically. And he was like, yo, bro, like definitely get into the business. It's a good business. It's really liquid and all that. But not knowing that he's a broker, so he's going to make money regardless. But you owning your own truck is a lot different because you need a driver. You need to be able to have maintenance. You have running costs. There's a lot of different factors whenever you're an owner, right? So I got caught up in the fallacy of what we call the Midas touch, right? So especially with people like nowadays, especially when they're successful at a young age, they often have like what they call a Midas touch. They think that, oh, because I was successful in one endeavor, that whatever I touch is going to be successful. And that's honestly like couldn't be further from the truth. So we have this habit of what we call ego, right? So your ego is honestly going to tell you that, oh, I was the reason that this business was successful. Really, a lot of times what it comes down to is luck, right? Even with Bill Gates or a lot of these different billionaires, they had a lot of luck attributed to them, right? And even like Steve Jobs, if Steve Jobs did not grow, he probably wouldn't have met Steve Wozniak, and then, or Apple wouldn't have been built. So there's a lot of different factors as far as luck. So I feel like a lot of times entrepreneurs, we negate that because it's all about I. Make sure you guys weigh out the pros and cons of a business before you guys go ahead and hop into it. Because if I would have realized that, I would have never went into the trucking industry. I would have been a consultant, I would have been something else, but I would just never went into it. Because honestly, to me, the trucking industry is great, but there's a lot of better models out there. I'm not a person that likes to rely on other people to make my money for me. So I'm a person where I want to be able to dictate how much money I make based off of how hard I work or the actual effort I put into something. And that's just why I feel, because I want control. I want to be able to control every aspect of the business. So that's definitely one thing. Now, third lesson I've learned in entrepreneurship is that you have to obsess over your customers' problems more than they obsess with them. You have to literally understand every single aspect of your customers' problems. You have to know how it makes them feel, how it basically keeps them up at night. You have to understand the effects that it has on their life, their job, whatever it is, right? So that way you can be able to give them a better solution, because all it is solving people's problems. That's all business is. And so if you really obsess over a customer's problems, like for example, if I do credit repair, if I do funding, like what does that look like? Like as far as you getting funded, do you literally have the ability to be able to make payroll next month? Do you have the ability to be able to buy that new truck that can be able to expand your business? Do you have the ability to be able to go ahead and invest into more marketing to grow your business? So being able to obsess over their problems is literally going to be able to not only make you a better salesperson to them, but also just a better like solution to them, right? Because if everybody else in the marketplace is literally just talking about, oh, I can just solve your problem because we do X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool, but what does that actually mean for the customer? Because you have to realize, like most businesses, you're in a competitive business, right? You're not necessarily going to be the only person who's found a solution to that problem. So you're going to have to be able to separate yourself. The key difference that I really go ahead and attribute it to is how much thought have you put into their problem? How much have you been actually thinking about their problem? How many different solutions have you came up for their problems? Because if you understand their problems better than they understand them, then they're going to pay you whatever. Like at the end of the day, they're going to pay you as much as possible, because people would rather go ahead and get a problem solved to alleviate create them stress and worry and anxiety than to be able to keep up with it and try to figure it out themselves. A lot of people, they just want to be able to have a solution that's hand-fed to them. So if you're able to solve their problems a lot better and obsess over their problems, then you're automatically going to be able to be the de facto person that they go with, right? So there's a common business quote that I often follow is that every single problem can literally be solved by talking to your customers. So, I mean, a lot of people, they'll go to gurus, they'll go to all the different people, but they'll be like, all right, how do I solve this problem? Like, literally just go ahead and talk to the customer. Ask them what it is. And you have to realize that anytime a customer gives you a complaint, complaints are the best way to be able to help them, but also better understand how to be able to make your business better. And I feel like a lot of business owners, they really negate that. They're honestly just more worried about themselves, but that's a topic for another day. Now, the fourth lesson that I've learned in business is to always be honest and never mislead people. This goes back to lesson number one as far as just personal development. Now, the better you are as a person, the better you are as a business owner. Now, trust me, guys, I know there's a lot of people that have gotten to millions by snaking people or doing some shady stuff, but at the end of the day, they have to live with that. And whenever it comes down to it, it's more about your integrity and how you want to be able to do business and be remembered as far as your brand. I mean, you got to think about it, right? You want to be able to go ahead and go to sleep at night knowing that you've messed somebody over or knowing that you're not selling something that's right. So that's something you have to really look at, but I would always pick that 9 times out of 10 to not even take anybody's money and honestly be honest to them and just never mislead them. Now, I know sales gets into this little gray area where you're thinking that, oh, misleading people or you're telling them over promising. Don't do that. Like, at the end of the day, guys, what you have to understand is that all sales is literally conviction. If you believe in your product, then it's going to go ahead and exuberate. Your confidence is going to go ahead and show. Your certainty in your voice is going to actually raise. So that's the difference between sales that is like very snaky versus sales that is coming from a place of heart. And so that's really a difference, because sales honestly gets a bad rap, but it really shouldn't be. You guys sell yourself on every single thing. You talk to your wife. You sold her on becoming your wife. You literally sold your kid on why they should go to school today. So everything is sales. People really don't like to admit that, but it is what it is. Like, let's just not beat the bush, but never misleading people and just honestly be honest. Like, just be a good human being. Like, it's always going to come back to you. Whether it's karma, whether it's debt, whatever it is, it's always going to come back to you, and people are going to remember that. And I always like to think of it like this. Like, if I have to go ahead and tell a customer or a potential customer that I can't help them out, then I'd rather take that, because you guys really don't understand how much trust that builds with that customer. Because once you actually tell them, hey, I'd love to help you out, but at the end of the day, like, it's just not what I do, right? So whenever they find somebody, they have a family member, they'll automatically refer them to you, because now you built that rapport with them. Now you've gone ahead and built that trust, and now they know that you're somebody of value and somebody of honor that stands on business. So they're going to automatically refer more people to you guys. And so it's almost like thinking of an abundancy state. It's literally being able to be in an abundancy mindset and just do right by people. It's really simple. Like, everybody knows it's right and everybody knows it's wrong. So people try to act like this is rocket science, but that's all it is. So fifth lesson I've actually learned in entrepreneurship is to go ahead and focus on quality relationships over quantity, right? You can go ahead and know 1,000 people, but if you guys really don't have a connection, then it really doesn't matter. I'd rather go ahead and start to build a relationship with top players that can be able to send me business, that can be able to build out a relationship, and then I can be able to also help them out as well. I always feel like relationships should always be value-based, right? It's always more about what can I do for that person. Of course, they're gonna go ahead and feel that reciprocity where they feel like you've given something to them, so they're gonna obviously courteously extend their hand. So that's definitely one way that, as far as like being able to build out relationships, right? I'd rather go ahead and build out quality relationships rather than just knowing 1,000 people very shallowly. That's really not gonna help, because all they're gonna refer you is more shallow people. But if you have one key player, for example, like you have somebody that's really popular, like an influencer or whoever, if you get to have a connection with them and they can be able to go ahead and actually refer you out to their clients and also refer you out to their network, that's gonna be a lot more valuable than just having a bunch of shallow connections that you guys probably talk a little bit here and there, but that's not gonna help you at all in business. So you need to be able to build up your relationships, because I know it's very cliche. I know it's something that people say all the time, and I don't even want to say it, but it's so true at the end of the day, because who you have in your network is really just a reflection of you. And that's why I feel like you have to work harder, because there's always new tiers of success. There's always new tiers of people that don't know you. And so the more you increase your value, the more likely they'll be able to network with you and actually take you seriously whenever you guys do meet. These are definitely the 5 lessons I've learned of being a young entrepreneur. I'm only 25, so I honestly love entrepreneurship because it's a game that you can play forever, and it's not like necessarily like basketball or football where you have to be born LeBron James or you have to be born Tariq Hill, which there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, definitely shout out to them, but at the same time, it's like it's not as relatable to everybody. So I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily know that's a path for them. But honestly, with business, man, like it gets even better. And to be honest, like the top people in the world, they all run businesses. So it's definitely the top sport in my eyes. But I love to be able to just keep learning and keep growing. But I hope this video was helpful, man. If you guys like these type of videos, let me know in the comments below. I just kind of want to definitely share like a lot more entrepreneurship, more business-minded tips. But yes, sir, I really appreciate you guys for tapping in, and I'll see you at the top, my boy. Let's get it.